In the world of underground fighting, one man is feared above all others, Dalton, a former notorious UFC fighter. His reputation precedes him, and his skills in the ring are unmatched. We see Post Malone, aka Carter, fighting in the ring, announcing his 6th win. But when Dalton steps in, he becomes wary of his opponent. Carter's expression changes to fear. He refuses to continue with the fight, intimidated by Dalton's presence. Carter leaves the money he won from his last 6 matches. Since it was a winner-takes-all type of match, Dalton is declared the winner and receives his payment. The underground fight takes place in a rundown warehouse on the outskirts of town, with a crowd of rough-looking men and women cheering and betting on the fighters. Outside, a man approaches Dalton and stabs him, claiming Dalton lost him $500 on a bet. But he is shocked to find Dalton unbothered by his stabbing. He runs for his life. Dalton meets Frankie, who points out that Dalton has a nice little scam going on. All he needs is for his opponent to know who he is, to know his history, and they'll be terrified to fight him. Frankie elaborates on why she is meeting up with Dalton. She has been having some troubles lately with her business, as it has been attracting the wrong clientele. They come in every night, trash the place, and cops are no help. She has been switching from bouncer to bouncer, but no one has lasted. So Frankie offers him a job as a bouncer at her roadhouse business. Dalton suggests that she give the offer to Carter, as he is just as good. Though initially uninterested, Dalton takes her number. We see Dalton sleeping in his car, indicating he has no place to call home. When a policewoman knocks on his window to tell him to move his car, which is parked next to the garage, he's jolted awake. Moments later, he contemplates committing suicide but changes his mind. But the car won't start in time. Luckily, he survives and maybe starts to appreciate life more. Dalton takes Frankie on her offer and heads to Glass Key, where he meets Charlie, one of the glass book owners. Charlie is a quirky and enthusiastic woman in her teens, with a passion for books and a love for her community. She's a bit of a hopeless romantic, always looking for the best in people, and has a quick wit and sharp tongue that can cut down any opponent. She's also fiercely protective of her father, Stephen, and the bookstore, which has been in their family for generations. When Dalton arrives, Charlie asks him, "Did you see Fred the tree on your way into Glass Key?" and hands him a book about it. She is immediately drawn to his mysterious and brooding nature, and they strike up a conversation about books and life. "What brings you to Glass Key?" she asks, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "I'm here to work at the roadhouse," Dalton replies. Dalton grows fond of Charlie and her father Stephen, enjoying their warm and welcoming nature. Later that night, Del and his crew enter the premises, terrorizing the place. Dalton lures them out by threatening to mess with their bikes. Scared, they follow him outside and everyone joins to watch the show. Dalton warns them that he's going to hurt them badly, even asks them where the nearest hospital is, because they're going to need it. Dalton tells Del to save himself from the embarrassment, as he is going to lose in front of all his friends. Del replies that his friends aren't just here to watch. Dalton starts by slapping them like kids and breaking their bones. He takes them to the hospital after injuring them, a paradoxical act of violence and mercy that speaks to the complexity of his character. Despite his tough exterior, he shows a glimmer of empathy, ensuring his victims receive medical attention, a trait that sets him apart from the brutal world he inhabits. There, he meets Ellie, who's impressed by his skills but also pissed off by his actions. "Before you go, I really wanted to say thank you for all the new patients," Ellie says, her voice laced with sarcasm. "You're welcome," Dalton replies. "I just love when my emergency room is packed full of irresponsible idiots. That way the normal people with real emergencies have nowhere to go." Ellie continues, her frustration evident, but that's not something you'd care about, being a rage-filled kid who likes to hurt people for fun, to which Dalton replies, "Well, technically, I hurt people for money." Ellie turns around to ask, "How's that better?" Dalton replies, "I guess it's not. I'm just clarifying." Ellie replies, "You know I'm supposed to call the cops on guys like you, right?" To which Dalton replies, "You should. Only I don't think they really care about rage-filled heads around these parts." Ellie smiles a bit before pointing out that he is bleeding and offers to look at his wound. Despite her frustration, she's drawn to him in a way she can't quite explain, a spark of love interest igniting amidst the chaos. News of Dalton's heroics spreads like wildfire, and everyone knows his name. He even wonders if there was a town meeting he didn't know about, thinking that may have been how his name spread. Meanwhile, Ben, a ruthless developer, sits on his luxurious yacht, indulging in a beard-shaving session. "The captain promised me a smooth sailing," he says, demonstrating his idiocy and self-centeredness. Ben inherited his wealth and legacy from his father, a notorious criminal who built Glaskey's prosperity with drug money. His father's dream was to give Glaskey a classy, respectable image, but before he could achieve it, he got arrested. Now, Ben is determined to continue his father's vision, but his ineptitude and arrogance threaten to destroy everything. With a twisted sense of pride and a desire to prove himself, Ben sets his sights on the roadhouse, planning to replace it with a luxurious resort. His eyes are fixed on the prime real estate, and he'll stop at nothing to get what he wants, even if it means perpetuating his father's shady legacy. Del, fueled by vengeance, plots his revenge against Dalton. He commandeers his girlfriend's van, seeking to crush his enemy. Dalton, however, is no easy target. He quickly senses Del's plan and prepares for the attack, as the van hurtles towards him. Dalton dodges just in time, but the van comes back. Dalton manages to jump on the back, plunging into water along with it. Dalton survives the ordeal, but Del refuses to relent. He lies in wait for Dalton at his boat, shotgun in hand. Dalton approaches cautiously, engaging Del in small talk to distract him. Seizing the moment, Dalton overpowers Del and sends him tumbling into the water, where a lurking crocodile awaits its prey. The crocodile attacks, its jaws snapping shut around Del's struggling body. The next morning, the police search the water's edge, scouring the area for any sign of Del's body. But it's as if he vanished into thin air. Unbeknownst to them, the crocodile has already hidden its food, leaving no trace of Del's fate. Ellie takes her love interest in Dalton to the next step, picking him up for a date with a boat she borrowed from her ex-boyfriend. They enjoy the sea, and Dalton panics when he realizes he is on a date. Claiming Ellie doesn't want to know him because of his past, but Ellie tells him that they have the internet, and she has read about his past. She tells him he knew this was a date. After Ellie drops him off at his boat, the corrupt police arrive, taking Dalton to the commander, who threatens Dalton to leave Glaskey, but Dalton laughs at him, and he tells him to get out of the car. They start beating Dalton, but luckily Ellie shows up and starts throwing insults at the corrupt police and even slapping him. She takes Dalton with her and starts explaining herself to him, telling him about her connections with the commander, who is her father, from which we can tell they don't have a good relationship. He used to work for Ben's father, and that's what drove them apart. Now evidently, he works for Ben. She warns Dalton about the danger he might be facing if he keeps provoking these people. Ben's father, from prison, calls for extra help. Meet Victor, a ruthless and skilled fighter with a personal vendetta against Dalton. He joins Ben's hooligans, and Ben finds Victor and asks who he is. Victor introduces himself and tells Ben that his father sent him to clean up his mess. Ben asks Victor to be patient with him and let him try to deal with this delicately one last time before he can step in. Ben goes to have a chat with Dalton personally and asks why Dalton refuses to give in like this. Ben says he would offer to pay him off, but he doesn't seem like the type that cares about money. To which Dalton jokingly replies, "How much are we talking?" Ben gives a sarcastic laugh and shows Dalton a video on YouTube of Dalton in a ring punching his best friend to death, bringing up some painful memories for Dalton. Dalton, refusing to give his reasons, makes Ben angry, and he leaves the roadhouse. Outside, he tells Victor to start terrorizing the roadhouse. Victor, with Ben's goons, goes in and start terrorizing the place. Dalton faces his greatest opponent yet, Victor, and for the first time ever, Dalton loses the fight and walks away. Ben thinks Dalton hasn't gotten the message yet, so he sends two of his guys to burn down the bookstore. Since he has noticed Dalton has a soft spot for Charlie and Steven, but this time, they've gone too far. Dalton, prepared to leave, notices the burnt bookstore on his way to the bus. That's it. Dalton goes on a killing streak, taking down the bad guys one by one. He steals Ben's money and knocks out one of the cops who work for Ben, hoping to give him a concussion that will make him forget what happened to the money, but that doesn't happen. The commander comes to Ben's boat to ask him to return the money he stole from the cop. Dalton tries to deny it, but the cop already told the commander what happened. Dalton admits to have taken the money. The commander begs Dalton to give it back, claiming that Ben took his daughter because his men were accountable for the money, which makes him look guilty. So if he ever cared for Ellie, he should return the money. Dalton agrees to bring the money to Ben to save Ellie, but he says he doesn't have it on him, so he is going to need a few hours. He takes Ellie's ex-boyfriend's boat and heads to Ben's boat. When he arrives, he is asked about the money, and he claims not to have it on him. He points out that the commander was way too calm for someone who just had his daughter kidnapped, and the commander admits to having double-crossed Dalton, claiming Ben would never do such a thing to him. But ironically, Ben did indeed kidnap Ellie, a triple cross. Dalton blows up Ben's yacht and starts looking for Ellie. When he finds her, they escape from the yacht, which is sinking from the water that's rapidly filling up the yacht. Victor arrives on his own boat to finish his mission, which is to kill Dalton. They fight. Victor is trying to kill Dalton, and Dalton is trying to get away with Ellie. Ellie mistakenly gets on Ben's boat, and things are intense for Dalton. His girlfriend is on the same boat with Ben, and simultaneously, he also has to deal with Victor. He manages to get on Victor's boat and overpower him, throwing him out of the boat. Now he has to figure a plan to get on Ben's boat. He chases Ben and manages to jump from his boat to Ben's boat. They struggle with Ben, and with their attention divided from where they are headed, the boat looks headed straight to the roadhouse. Ellie and Dalton jump off the boat in time, and Ben goes flying into the roadhouse. Luckily he lands on the roof. Ben tries to kill Dalton with a fishing spear but misses. Dalton beats him to a pulp until Victor shows up in a van, injuring Dalton's leg. In the final showdown, Dalton faces Victor for what might be his final fight. Victor seems to have Dalton right where he wants him, but Dalton never yields and manages to stab Victor with wood sticks, leaving Victor severely injured. As he looks up, he sees Ellie. He could feel her pain, as all this means Dalton absolutely has to leave Glass Key. In the end, the roadhouse is destroyed, but the community is finally safe. Dalton leaves town, but not before leaving behind the money he took from Ben as a gift to Stephen and Charlie to rebuild their store. His name is Whispered in Fear and Respect, a true legend in the world of underground fighting. As he prepares to step into the bus, Charlie approaches him to ask him not to leave, to which Dalton replies this was always how it was going to end, and Charlie replies saying not always. Sometimes the hero stays and makes his little homestead, and Dalton replies saying, I don't think I'm the hero in this particular story. Charlie shakes her head and turns around, turning only her head to reply, so maybe you're not the hero. I got news for you. You ain't the villain either. Comment down below. If you were in Dalton's shoes, would you have kept the money for yourself, used it to fund your next adventure, or left it behind as a gift to those you care about? Thanks for watching to the very end, everyone. You're awesome. We appreciate your support and engagement. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. See you again next week.